Stripped screws, burnt bits, holes that wonder, tools catching and twisting your wrists, and what the heck are all these numbers? Once you understand what the drill is designed to do, all those problems disappear. The truth is, this is the most owned tool in the world, and nobody is taught how to actually use it. Let's start with what a drill is actually designed to do. At its core, it's basically a powered screwdriver. It might look more complicated, but the job is the same. It just turns things. Instead of your wrist doing the work, you squeeze a trigger and the drill spins for you. Squeeze a little, it spins slow. Squeeze more, it spins faster. That's all the variable trigger is doing. It's just controlling speed. A drill is just taking something your wrist already knows how to do and adding power to it. Here's where things start to break down though. Unlike you, the drill doesn't have a brain. It doesn't feel resistance. It doesn't know when something gets tight. It doesn't know when to stop. When you're using a screwdriver by hand, you know exactly when to twist harder, when to back off, and when you're done. The drill doesn't know any of that. All it knows is one thing. You're pulling the trigger, so it keeps spinning. If something stops moving, the drill doesn't know that either. It'll just keep rotating until you let go, or something else tells it to stop. So when a screw stops turning, but the drill keeps spinning, the weakest thing gives first. Sometimes that's the screw head. Sometimes it's the bit. The drill didn't do anything different. It just kept doing exactly what it was designed to do. And that's where stripped screws come from. That's where burnt bits come from. So the real question becomes, how do you tell the drill when to stop? Remember those mysterious numbers on your drill? That's the answer to most of these problems. They're not speed settings, they're not power levels. This dial is called the clutch. And don't worry, it's not as frustrating as learning to drive a stick shift car. All the clutch does is set a limit. It's how you tell a drill, when you hit this much resistance, stop. Remember, the drill doesn't have a brain, so the clutch becomes its brain. As you drive a screw, resistance slowly builds up. It's super easy to get a screw started, but as it goes deeper, you have to twist harder and harder. When you're doing this by hand, you know when to stop. Your drill doesn't. So you set the clutch to a number, and once it hits that resistance, the drill stops applying force. Instead of stripping the screw, instead of snapping the head, instead of burying the screw way too deep, the clutch just slips. That clicking sound isn't a failure. That's the drill doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's saying, this is where you told me to stop. When people strip screws, it's not because the drill is too weak or too powerful. It's because the drill never got told when to stop. So they keep pulling the trigger. The drill keeps spinning, and something gives. Once you understand that, the clutch stops feeling confusing. It's not there to make the drill stronger. It's there to make it controlled. And the exact number doesn't really matter. The numbers don't correspond to specific amounts of torque, they're just reference points. A higher number means more force allowed before the drill stops. A lower number just means less. So you're not looking for the right number, you sneak up on it. Always start with a low setting because you can't really ruin anything. Then slowly bump the clutch up until the fastener drives exactly how you want it. The right setting is the lowest setting that still seats the screw properly. Once you feel that click a few times, it makes sense instantly. Now, one important distinction. A drill isn't just for driving screws. It's also for drilling holes. And when you're drilling that hole, you don't want the drill to stop on you. That's why drills have a drill mode. This icon tells the drill, don't stop until I let go of the trigger. So when you're drilling holes, you want full rotation. When you're driving screws, you want control. You might also see a little hammer icon on your drill and wonder what that's about. That's hammer drill mode. It's used for drilling into concrete, brick, or masonry. When it's on, the drill isn't just spinning. It's also rapidly hammering the bit forward as it rotates. That hammering action breaks up concrete, which makes drilling into it way easier. But for woodworking, you don't want this on. It'll tear up your wood and ruin accuracy. So remember it like this. Hammer mode for concrete, regular drill mode for wood. Now the drill knows when to stop. but it doesn't know how fast to spin or what speed to go. Speed matters just as much as the clutch, especially when you're driving screws. Speed is not about power. Speed is about control. When you drive a screw too fast, everything happens all at once. The screw bites, resistance spikes, and the drill doesn't have enough time to react. At higher speeds, it's also harder to keep the bit fully engaged in the screw head. The bit wants to ride up and out instead of staying seated. The drill blows right past the clutch, and that's when screws strip or snap. Slowing the drill down gives you control. It gives the clutch time to do its job, and it makes it much easier to keep the bit fully seated in the screw. That's why driving screws almost always works better at slower speeds. And there's another big reason for that. Drills actually produce more torque or turning power at lower speeds. With some screws in dense material, you can max out the clutch and still not drive the screw. There just isn't enough turning power. Lowering the speed gives you a lot more torque. Think about riding a bike. If you're in a high gear and you hit a hill, it feels brutal. You're pushing hard, but the pedals barely move. Drop into a low gear and everything changes. You're moving slower, but suddenly you have way more control and way more power. Drills work the exact same way. High speed feels fast, but it struggles under load. Low speed feels slower, but it gives you the torque you actually need to turn the screw. Now, the same idea applies when you're drilling holes. When drilling holes, we don't want the drill to stop, so we put it in drill mode. Ideally, the faster a drill spins, the faster it drills, but it also means more friction and more heat. And heat is what burns drill bits. Heat is what makes wood smoke. Heat is what causes the awful squealing sound. When a bit spins too fast, it doesn't cut, it just rubs. Cutting makes chips, rubbing makes heat. So slowing the drill down lets the bit cut evenly instead of overheating. Think of it like a car tire. The bigger the tire, the slower it has to spin to cover the same distance. Same thing here. A big Forstner bit spinning at top speed is like taking a turn at 200 miles an hour in a car. You're going to crash. This is why drills have multiple speed ranges. As a really simple rule of thumb, small bits can run fast. Something like an 1/8 inch drill bit works great at higher speed. But once you start stepping up in size, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches and up, that's when you want to slow things way down. The bigger the bit, the more material it's trying to remove at once. If you keep it at a high speed, you're just making heat instead of chips. Driving screws, slower speed. Big bits, slower speed. Small bits or light drilling, faster speed. Once you set the clutch correctly, it keeps screws from stripping. If the bit keeps popping out, or if bits start smoking, the drill is spinning too fast. So now, the drill knows when to stop, and it knows how fast to spin. But there's one thing it can't control: your hands. And this is where a lot of problems still come from. Even with the clutch set correctly and the speed slowed down, screws can still fail. And most of the time, that comes down to control. One of the most common issues is something called cam out. Cam out is when the driver bit slips off the head of the screw, and that's what strips screws. It's also what makes the bit pop out of the screw head and dent your project. A lot of the time, that's not the drill's fault. It's because there isn't enough pressure straight down on the screw head. The bit can't stay fully engaged, so it rides up and out. That's why alignment and pressure matter so much. You want pressure that's straight in line with the screw, not angled and not off to the side. That's why you'll sometimes see drills with a D handle instead of a T handle. It makes it much easier to apply the pressure directly in line with the fastener. Handle style doesn't really matter as much as technique though. But the goal is the same. Keep everything straight, steady, and push into the screw. The type of screw head matters too. Phillips heads are notorious for cam out. They're actually designed to slip under too much force. That's why you'll often see star-shaped Torx head or square-shaped Robertson head. Those designs keep the bit much more securely engaged in the screw, which makes stripping less likely. Now all that applies to driving fasteners. Drilling holes is a little different. Because the truth is, it's really hard to drill a perfectly straight hole freehand. This is also why holes wander when you start drilling. A regular twist bit has nothing keeping it centered at the start. A brad point bit has a center spur that pins it in place. So the hole starts exactly where you want it and doesn't walk on you. If you care about accuracy in your wood, brad point bits make life way easier. That's also why drill presses exist, but they're expensive and they take up a lot of space. And most people just want to drill good holes with the drill they already own. I got you. There are small, inexpensive jigs like this that help hold the drill bit upright so you can drill straighter holes. They're cheap, they work, and they get the job done. If you want something more precise, there are also portable drill presses. You chuck your drill into them, and they guide the drill in a straight path for you. Some of them even let you drill at angles if you need that too. The point is, you don't need perfect hands. You just need the right support when precision matters. Now, even with the clutch set correctly, even with the speed slowed down, even with good control, sometimes driving screws is still a battle. Ever tried driving a long screw into dense material? Or driving a whole bunch of screws back to back? It feels like you're fighting the drill the entire time. And sometimes it's not just frustrating, it's sketchy. You've probably had this happen. The screw suddenly binds, or you're drilling a hole and the bit grabs. The drill catches, and it tries to twist your wrist and rip itself out of your hands. That is not you being careless. That's the drill doing exactly what it was designed to do. A drill spins smoothly. So when something suddenly stops, all that force goes straight into your wrists. And that's the point where the drill starts working against you. And that's why you'll see some higher end drills with what's called an electronic clutch or kickback control. They sense when the drill suddenly starts to twist, and they'll throw on the brakes and cut power before it wrecks your wrists. That's cool and it definitely works, but those drills are usually pretty expensive. And the bigger point is this: there's a simpler and more effective solution for that kind of work. This is where the drill's cousin comes in, the impact driver. An impact driver is still rotating just like a drill, but instead of one smooth, continuous twist, it adds short hammering impacts along that rotation. So if you slow an impact driver down, it's basically rotating like a drill, but with those impacts layered on top. That hammering breaks resistance into smaller hits, instead of one big twist. And that's what protects your wrists too. Instead of the tool suddenly binding and yanking sideways, the impact just keeps tapping its way forward. That's why driving long screws with an impact feels effortless. You can often do it one-handed without fighting the tool or bracing for kickback. That same hammering is also why impacts excel at rough, high-resistance work. You'll notice that a lot of impact drivers have multiple speed settings on them. Those are not the same as drill speeds. They're basically controlling how aggressive the impacts are. Lower settings give you more control, which is great for smaller screws or lighter work, whereas the higher settings are for speed and power, like when you're driving in really long screws or working in really tough material. Same idea as before though. Match the tool to the job. You'll even see drill bits like these that slide right into an impact driver. No, that is not a mistake. This is a bit I use for things like running electrical wire. It plows through 2x4s fast, and it won't twist my wrist when it breaks through. But those holes are very rough. They are not accurate, and definitely not clean. Which brings us back to tool choice. Impacts are amazing when you're driving long screws, working in tough material, or doing a lot of fasteners quickly. But that same hammering is exactly why impacts aren't great at everything. They're not great for drilling clean holes, they're not great for precise work, and they don't give you the same control at the finish. Yes, you can get drill bits that fit into an impact, and yes, sometimes it works. But just because it works doesn't mean it's the right tool. If you want control, clean holes, and predictable stopping, reach for the drill. If you want to drive long screws quickly without fighting the tool or your wrists, That's when an impact shines. Neither of these tools are better, they just solve different problems. Once you understand what each is designed to do, choosing between them becomes obvious. Strip screws, burnt bits, holes that wonder, tools catching and twisting your wrist, none of that is random. It all comes from the same misunderstanding. The clutch tells the drill when to stop. The speed tells it how fast to spin, and your hands keep it straight and steady. And when the job demands brute force instead of finesse, that's where the impact driver steps in. When those pieces are working together, the drill stops feeling unpredictable. Strip screws stop being a mystery, burnt bits stop being confusing, and driving fasteners stops feeling like a fight. Now, you're not fighting the tool anymore. You're working with it. You just know what to adjust and why you're adjusting it. That's the difference between memorizing tips and actually understanding how the tool works. And if this video clicked for you because of that, because you like understanding why things work instead of just memorizing steps, that's exactly how my woodworking courses are built. They're deep dives into single topics, several hours long, broken into bite-sized chapters that walk you through every step. If you want to learn everything about building drawer boxes, like different construction methods and how to understand and install all that complicated drawer hardware, check out my Mastering Drawer Boxes course. And if you want to master shaker-style doors and drawer fronts for your next project, I've got a full course on that too. These aren't quick YouTube overviews. They go into the fine details every video skips. And they include a free calculator that does all of the math for you so you can start your next project without guessing.